Hello, everybody. Um, so I'm trying to keep the video off for folks to try to help maintain privacy and everything. So I'm gonna have people interact with me using the chat. Um, so if you haven't used Zoom before, you probably have a bar somewhere when you move your mouse around at the bottom, or maybe the top of your screen. I don't know, maybe on the side. I don't know where you got your Zoom bar, but there should be a bar somewhere that says chat. Ah, Brandon, you've done it. You're in the chat. Hello, good morning to you as well. Um, I'm coming to you guys from my basement. It's where I'm spending my time right now. How's everybody doing? How's the lockdown situation? Good. Okay. Good. I know it's like I'd much rather have everybody. Oh, thank you, Yo Yo. I'm doing all right. Thanks. I probably don't need to type it and say it, but I'm getting used to this whole situation here. Um, nice weather yesterday. I hope you guys were able to get outside and maybe safely safely do something outside while you're maintaining your 6 feet. And then I'm reading like you're not supposed to bike too close to anybody as well, because if you bike in and then you breathe out, then your aerosol goes into, I don't know. I don't know. Um, I'm hoping we get more than two people, but if we only get two people, that's okay. Here, since you two are the early birds, I was going to do either some of the Code HS and some of the free response on Replit. Where do you guys want to start? Free response. Okay. Cool. 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 Hello. Good morning, Maddie. Good morning. We're trying to use the chat here, and really the reason I'm having people talk in the chat instead of everybody. It's just if you have everybody talking at the same time, all the microphones are on, then you get some issues with blah blah blah. So it's more for your guys' protection. Can you see me though? Can you see me? Okay, thank you. That's good. That's good to know. I've been practicing with Zoom, I'll have you know. I'm not yet like a black belt Zoomer, but Zoomer boomer, but I'm working on it. Maddie, the vote was to do free response first, so that's probably where I'm going to start. Um, and then I can do some of the Code HS stuff. There was one erroneous Code HS problem that I deleted. It had like you taking in strings that were numbers and adding them together using, I don't know, integer.parseInt. Definitely not material on the AP test, but looks like we got a lot of people on the Code HS thing, so that's good. I'm not going to start doing anything till 10, but it's nice to see all you folks here, and hopefully we get a couple more people on. Oh, here's somebody else, Matthew Harmon. Let me admit him. He's admitted. Okay, good. Um, hmm. Glad everybody seems to be doing okay. Oh, here's Ian. Good morning, Ian. He's joining. Okay. Um, okay, good. We got Ian in here. Good morning, Ian. We got Brandon, Maddie, Matt, Yo Yo. All right. Good, 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 good. Oh, whoa, I didn't even know you guys were able to do video. Hello, Ian. Good morning. I'm trying to have people do stuff in the chat here because I muted everybody. Really just for your, I know you guys are all good and stuff, but I don't want a ton of people competing with me for being on the microphone. Oh, there's John. Let me admit him. We got Ben. Okay, now we're getting some people in here. All right, good, good, good. Okay, cool. I think the vote is we're going to start with the free response problem. So if you guys want to open up any of those materials, it's that free response question on sound. It's on the document. I'll share my screen here. in just a moment. Wait until 10 o'clock. I got 30 seconds until 10 o'clock, and we're starting sharp here, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else. Okay, Courtney, Joseph. Okay, we're getting the people in here. We're getting the people moving. Okay, nice, nice. Good morning. Good morning. Really quick, for those of you just joining us, I did mute the microphones just so I didn't have a bunch of people competing for that stuff. So the way we're going to talk to each other is through the chat. If you don't know where the chat window is, it should be down. Hello, Courtney. Goodbye, Courtney. It's down near the bottom, the chat window. Hello, everyone. I'll put a message in there. So if you click on that, then you can type questions to me. Then we don't have a bunch of competition for the microphone. I see it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Let's see. Let's share my screen. Okay, here we go. All right, let's admit some other people. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Can you guys see, can you let me know in chat, can you see my screen right now? Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, good, good, good. So I'm gonna go to the virtual APCSA document here. Oh, good, everybody's let me know. You guys are awesome. So I've got the document open. People that were here a little bit early voted to start with the free response question. So I am going to, I've already created a Replit account. Oh, Derek, yeah, why is everybody saying yes? Everybody's saying yes because I just asked if they can see my screen. So it's all good. I'm new to Zoom. That's why people are saying yes. So I'm right here. I've already created a Replit account, so I'm gonna open up Replit. I've tried to give you guys a bunch of resources that are self-graded, basically runnable code that you can do right in your browser without having to install anything, because if you guys have to install stuff, then who knows, you could have issues at home and all that stuff. So between the CodeHS and Replit and some other resources I'm going to share with people as we go on, I'm trying to give you some auto-graded stuff so you get immediate feedback, since I'm not over your shoulder like usual, telling you, hey, you need to add some punctuation here and there. For those of you just joining us, I've muted the microphones. I'm going to have people talk using the chat functionality, and we're starting with the free response question. So I've got it open up here, sound in Replit, using runnable code. And then I'm going to open up the question directions as well. So just talking about how to kind of digest one of these questions. Now, we don't really know what the situation is going to be, on May 15th yet. They haven't even shown us what it's going to look like. But if you missed my update, just to sum it up, essentially the AP test on May 15th is going to be 2 free response questions that you're doing at home, which are open note, open computer, open everything. So 2 free response questions, and we're starting with the sound one, which is again located on your document for this week here. So I think I've said it before, when you start to kind of digest one of these free response questions, I just read the text first. So digital sounds can be represented as an array of integer values. For this question, you'll write 2 unrelated methods of the sound class. Partial declaration of the sound class is shown below. I'm not really going to read all this code right now because it doesn't have a lot of context for me. Like, what does it mean? I don't know. But you'll notice the gray highlighting does tell you essentially any instance variables. So I can see there is a integer array called samples, and then any methods that are particular to the class, limit, amplitude, and trim sounds from beginning. I'm not going to read those right now though, because they don't have a lot of context for me. So I'm going to keep going here. It says letter A. The volume of a sound depends on the amplitude of each value in the sound. If you're wondering, we have done this question before, but I wanted to start on something that was a little bit more straightforward while you guys are working at home. So anyways, the volume of sound depends on the amplitude of each value in the sound. The amplitude of a value is its absolute value. For example, the amplitude of negative 2300 is 2300, and the amplitude of 4000 is 4000. Okay, so we know absolute value, how that works. Write the method limit amplitude that will change any value that has an amplitude greater than the given limit. Values that are greater than limit are replaced with limit, and values that are less than negative limit are replaced with negative limit. The method returns the total number of values that were changed in the array. For example, assume that the array samples has been initialized with the following values. So they give you the examples. I think I've told you before, I work best from the examples. So I'm going to look here and let's see. When the statement, okay, so they call the limit amplitude method 2000. That must be the limit. Values that are greater than limit are replaced with limit. So the method's called limit amplitude. Now I might go back and look at the code and go, oh, okay, it took in an integer value named limit. So 2000 must be the limit here. And then it shows how many changes happen as well as the new values. So for example here, 40 and 40. 40 stays the same because it's not greater than 2000. 2532 in the new array changes to 2000. It went from 2532 and changed to 2000. Why? Well, because 2532 is greater than the limit, so it set it to positive limit. 17 is not. Negative 2300 is less than the negative limit, so it gets changed to the negative limit. So negative 2300 less than negative 2000, so I change it to negative 2000. And so on and so forth. Any values that are less than the negative limit get changed to negative limit. Any values, I don't know why they threw 400, 2, and 0 in there. Any values that are greater than the positive limit get changed to the positive limit, like these last two examples there. Okay, so it says complete method limit amplitude below. And it gives you some instructions there. So I think I understand it. Basically, the way I read it is we're going to look over the whole array. Anything greater than the positive limit is changed to positive limit. Anything lower than the negative limit is changed to negative limit. Does that make sense, people? Can I get a Y in chat if it makes sense, or a question if you have a question? Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, oh, you guys are good. Okay, cool. So I've got open the Replit thing. I've already clicked on that. I've made my account. If you're not familiar, thank you, everybody. Ashlyn, Jason, thank you. I see everybody else, Reagan, Brandon, thank you. Any questions? All right. So this is what Replit looks like. It's like a whole IDE JGrasp situation right in the browser. You don't have to install anything. So that's why I'm recommending it. This whole thing you're looking at right here on my screen currently, this is just like tests and stuff. So if you see stuff you don't recognize, that's okay. Because like I said on the document here, write code in sound.java. Click on the left under main. Okay, so I'm clicking sound.java and there it is, limit amplitude. So it looks like there's a couple things I got to do. I've got to loop over the entire array, and then anything that is greater than the positive limit is going to get set to the positive limit. Anything that's less than the negative limit gets set to the negative limit. And then anybody in chat know what this int that I'm supposed to return represents? They think they got an idea? What is this int that I'm supposed to return? Oh, beautiful. Great minds think alike. You guys got it. What I'm reading a lot of people saying is number of changed values. That is outstanding. So I don't think I could do this with an enhanced for loop. I think I got to use a regular for loop. Some things, like you're all saying, number of changed values. I need, oh, sorry, I didn't make a copy. Okay, now it's good. I need a variable to keep track of the number of changes. Hopefully this font is big enough. Oh, now it's definitely big enough. So you can see on the left here, I've clicked on sound.java. Okay, so number of changes. I have not programmed in a little bit, so I might be a little rusty. I want to loop through the samples array. What's the name of the array? It's samples. So I'm going to go ahead and loop through here. I really don't think I can use a enhanced for loop. I could count the number of changes, but I couldn't make the changes. So I'm going to use a regular for loop here. And basically, I'll say something like if the element samples sub I is greater than the limit. So that's saying if it's greater than the positive limit, I want to do two things. I want to make samples sub I equal to positive limit. And then I want to increment number of changes. Look how nicely Replit lines up the braces and everything. Otherwise, if the element of samples is less than the negative limit, yeah, if it's less than the negative limit, then I want to make that element equal to the negative limit. And I also want to increment num changes. Now, I think there's probably maybe a little bit more elegant way to write this where you could use a single if statement and blah, blah, blah. But I think this is readable. Essentially what I'm saying is loop through all the indices in the array samples. And essentially if an element is greater than the positive limit, set it equal to that limit and increment the number of changes. Otherwise, if the element's less than the negative limit, then I'm going to go ahead and make it equal to the negative limit and increment the number of changes. So question is, could you do the thing where you multiply by the value divided by the absolute value of the value? Yes, yes, you absolutely could do that. I think that's the more elegant way to do it. If I were a professional, why start now? If I were a professional, that would probably be a little bit more efficient because I could just use one if statement, one computation. You guys are much smarter than I am, so maybe during the AP test on May 15th, you guys will think of that off the top of your head. I think this way maybe is just a little bit more simple to read, but you can definitely do that more complex operation there. Or maybe it's less complex, maybe it's simpler. The last thing, I always, whenever I'm writing a method, I have to say, okay, I'm supposed to return an int. Did I return an int? No. What int was I supposed to return? The number of changes. So I'll go ahead and do that there. Now, I believe I should be able to run and test just that part, or does it tell me? Sorry, I can't see everything. Trim silence does not change. Okay, so I haven't done trim silence from beginning yet, is what it's telling me. Okay, so I gotta do trim silence from beginning. It's telling me trim silence from beginning did not change array values correctly. Darn. So I gotta go ahead and do the trim silence from beginning, but I think I'm pretty good on limit amplitude. Do we have any questions? Hi, Daniel. Any questions about this part so far? I've just lost my chat window. Oh my gosh, where did it go? No joke. Cannot find my chat window. Saved my life. Sorry, I paused it because I can't find my chat window. Where? Help. Oh my God. Where's my... Sorry, folks. This is embarrassing. I feel really bad right now. Can't find chat. Alt H. Oh, there, it's in the more. It's in the more. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brandon. It's hard when I can't find the chat to see the directions on. Hello, wake up, Mr. Foster. Where is the chat? Here's the chat. I got it. Thank you. Okay, so we're good here. Here's my limit amplitude. Okay, I'm going to move on to part. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. It's nice to have. Maybe I can have you moderate the next one. Moderate me. That's where we really need the moderation. I am in the basement where the light is coming through the back window there. So that's what's happening. Okay, light in the basement. What's going on? All right, let's look at. So that's limit amplitude. I'm feeling pretty good about that one. The next one is called trim silence from beginning. It says record sound often begins with silence. Silence in a sound is represented by a value of 0. Write the method trim silence from beginning that removes the silence from the beginning of a sound. To remove starting silence, a new array of values is created that contains the same values in the original samples array in the same order, but without the leading zeros. The instance variable samples is updated to refer to the new array. Oh, baby. Okay, for example, suppose the instance variable samples refers. Okay, so here's what I see. I see some zeros at the beginning in the original. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros in the beginning. Thanks. Thanks, Derek. I see some zeros in the beginning here, 4 of them. And then in the new array, those zeros are gone, and now it just starts with the -14, which was originally the 4th element, but now it's the first element. You'll notice that the size of the array has also gotten smaller by well, 4 elements, because we removed these first 4. So what I need to do is make a new array. Let's see here. If I come up with a plan, I think first of all, I have to probably count the number of silence in the beginning. Oh, one person is waiting. Okay, count the number of silence in the beginning. So I see 4 silences here. So I'm going to count the number of silences there. And then I'm going to make a new array it's the same size as the old array minus the number of silence. And then I'll start copying from wherever the first thing that's not a 0 is, which should be the number of elements that were zeros. So for example, this original array had 4 zeros. So I want to start copying from index 4 in the original array. If you're just joining us, I've muted the microphones, but you can always comment in chat if you got a question or something like that. And we're doing the free response question. So I think I know where I want to start on this one. We're on part 2, trim silence from beginning. First thing I want to do is count the number of zeros at the beginning. So I'm going to say something like, I don't know, num zeros. Is that good? I don't know how many there are yet. I haven't started counting. If you're just joining us, the name of our array is samples. So I'm going to, hey, you know what? I could use an enhanced for loop here because I'm just looking at it, and you know what I'm thinking. Why not? For each integer sample in samples, I'll say something like, if the sample is 0, then increment number zeros. How are we feeling about that? Feels good? Okay. If you didn't want to use the enhanced for loop, you didn't have to. I'm just using one because all I'm doing is looking at each element and saying, is that element a 0? If it is, increment the number of zeros. Okay, next, I need to make like my new resultant array. If you look back at the question, the new array is the old array minus the silence. So the size, for example, the original had 4 silence at the beginning. So now we've made a new array that's the size -4. So I'm going to go ahead and say something like new samples equals new. Oh, sorry. Just the first. Great point, Daniel. Thank you. So this is going to count all the zeros. Daniel is totally right. This is going to count all the zeros. So how could I change it? What if I said, if sample does not equal 0, break? Yeah. Well, if sample equals 0, I can just say else break, right? Thank you, Daniel. Good save. If you're not sure what the heck is going on, I wasn't either for a minute there, but essentially we're saying the way I had it written before, it was going to count all the zeros, including this guy and all the other ones. Now we're just saying count the ones starting at the beginning. Oh, Derek, that's a nice idea too. Just write a while loop and keep a counter going every single time. Then you don't even have to use break. Smart. You guys are good. Thank you for saving me, Derek and Daniel. The killer D's are out. Okay. Let's, so there. I've said if it's not a 0, then break, you're done. It's not at the beginning. Cool. So now I'm going to make, next part is I'm going to make that new resultant array that is the same size as the original minus the beginning silence. So I'll say something like new int and the original array's length minus num zeros. Now that went on to 2 lines because my font is so large. There we go. Okay, so this is the original array's length minus the number of zeros at the beginning, essentially. And what I want to do now is essentially copy each element from the original array to the new array. And you'll notice that the indices are a little bit off here. I want to make the 0th element in the new array equal to the 4th element in the original, the 1th element equal to that. How can I relate those mathematically? Well, I'm thinking if I do I plus num zeros, I'll get the element at that spot, the corresponding spot. So I'm going to go ahead and loop through. I'll use, I think you could go in either way here. I'm going to use I being a index for new samples. I think you could make I the index for samples as well. Just depends how you're going to relate I to the 2 different arrays. And so I'm just going to say new samples sub I. Have to use a regular for loop because we're changing elements. Is equal to samples sub I plus num zeros. If you're wondering what that I plus num zeros is, it's just basically saying the 0th element in samples is going to be the 4th element, for example, in samples in the original, and so on and so forth. Could you just do, Jason, that is a great question. My one thought about that, if I just put num zeros is a constant and won't change at this point, so I think it'll just copy the same element. That's why I have I plus num zeros. That way this index that I have highlighted will go up each time. If I just put num zeros, then I'm worried that it'll just stay at index 4 in the example that they give over and over again, if that makes, yeah, exactly. So that's the part where I make the new array. It's the same size as the original minus the number of zeros at the beginning, which we counted up here, and then I'm copying over the elements. And then the return type is void. I think there's one more thing I have to do. Any ideas in chat? Yeah. Very good. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I would recommend doing a deep copy usually, except num zeros plus plus on line 22. Oh my gosh, Derek, thank you. Yes, that should be num zeros plus plus. Thank you, Derek. So I got update samples. I'm not going to do a deep copy here because I'm actually changing. There are 2 different arrays that are different sizes and all that stuff. So really, I can just say samples equals new samples at the end. And if you're wondering why that's legal, it would not be if samples were a parameter. For example, if samples was passed right here in the parentheses, then I would not be able to do that with samples because it would be a parameter passed by reference and it would point it somewhere else. But since samples is an instance variable up here, I can just say make that instance variable point to this new array. And so when the method exits and is over, samples is going to be pointing to that new samples array. And let's see how we did. Derek, thank you for helping me change this. I want the counter to go up. Yes, that is correct here. What does it say? Oh, baby. With your help, all tests passed. Can you believe it? And that's kind of why I like the replit thing, because it gives you immediate feedback, right or wrong, and all that stuff. If you want, hello. If you want to do it a different way, I did post, I don't know if it's a different way, but I did post a solution video from another AP computer science teacher doing that problem as well. And yeah, any questions on part B here? You guys are typing. Again, I just counted the number of zeros that started. And you guys gave me some help there, so making sure it was just the starting zeros. And then essentially we made a new array that was the length of the original minus the number of zeros. And we copied over each element from the original to the new array. And then lastly, we pointed the original to that new array. And okay, doesn't look like there's any questions on this one. Now, while this was just one question replet, I have a whole, like, basically questions from 2019 and all the way back to 2012 or 13, I think, that are all in like a replet classroom, and we'll kind of get that started next week. Now, as you're doing these, I'm sure you guys read my update on the Google Classroom about the AP test, but just a reminder, there's only going to be 2 free response questions. Do I think it's fair that you're getting graded for an entire year of computer science by doing 45 minutes, 2 questions? Not really. I think it's not fair to you guys, but it's just how it is. It was probably either that or them canceling the test, so at least you can still get credit, obviously. Now, how should you do it on AP test day? That's a great question. You could do it in JGrasp or in Replit or in, the IDE of your choice, maybe even like Notepad++ or some other code editor or something like that you like to use. As far as we know so far, that's fine. My one thing, if you are doing it in an IDE like JGrasp or whatever, Replit, for example, if your code does not compile correctly, do not get caught up on it. Oh, nice background. Is that Steve or Daniel? Okay. So my thing about it is you might want to handwrite it. You might want to practice these handwriting them. Here's an idea. What if you do the questions handwritten and then you write down your answer in Replit to check them? I think that's a great way to go about it. Maybe you want to experiment with that, because if you're handwriting and you make a small mistake, you probably won't lose points on the AP test, but if you're using your IDE and then you do that, it'll probably slow you down. You've only got 25 minutes for one of the questions and 15 minutes for the other question, and time lost is time you're not getting back. So again, my recommendation, maybe you do these handwritten to practice handwriting them, and then you toss them in. Or if you're totally confident in writing code that's going to compile, or that you're not worried about small little errors here and there slowing you down, then maybe and you're a good typer, maybe you write it. There is time, so is the time transferable between the 2 problems? So I I virtually went to a webinar with Trevor Packer, who's like the head of kind of testing for the College Board. And like, what if you do one question in 10 minutes? Do you have the extra 35 or whatever for the other question? From what we understand is no. You're going to have to do the first question and upload it before you can do the second question. And once you upload the first question, you are done with the first question. So you can't like do one fast and then have extra time for the other one, if that makes sense. You got to kind of do the 25-minute one, upload it, 5 minutes to upload. We still don't know what that process is going to look like. Apparently they're going to tell us later on in the month, and then you'll have 15 minutes for the other one. So any other questions about either this problem or just what I know so far about how the test is is there a way that we have to turn Max, that's a great question. Not yet. Next week, I've created what's called a Replit classroom, and then I'll post them on there. And it's kind of like CodeHS. It's just a way where I can see your progress. So there's no way for you to submit it right now to me. You don't have to email it to me or anything. This first week, it's going to kind of be a little rough around the edges, but yeah. So there's no way that you have to turn it in yet. Next week, we'll have ways to turn in stuff from Replit in a classroom. Derek, that is a great question. CodeHS, if we're good here, I'm going to use Derek's question to segue into CodeHS. And so back from the document, I believe the link says, where is it? Oh, here. Those of you that are successfully in CodeHS, doesn't this link give you doesn't it add you Oh, entering the class code provided by your teacher. I thought this was just working. Okay, well here, let me give you I thought before that that link was signing people in for some reason. Give me 1 second to just have a drink of water. I'm just like a little parched here. One moment. It auto joined your class. So Courtney and Jason and John are saying it auto joined. Maybe the link changed or something, and now it's not working anymore to auto join the class. Okay. Um, how do I? What is the? How do I get the? Let me stop my share 1 second. I don't want to. I don't want to give anybody. I'm just trying to see how I can my sections test practice. Okay, Derek, I'm gonna type the code in the chat here because I've got the code now. He said, will he do it? There it is. Okay. Derek, I've got the code for you. It's 31088. So the code is I'll type it in here. Class code 31088. Let me give you back my screen again here. My sections, test practice. Okay, let me re-share. It looks like somebody just got back in there or just added, so that's good. Okay, so looks like the class code is 31088. And so can I look at these assignments? Unit 1, primitive types, programming. I know it looks a little bit different for you guys. Maybe I can hit you with the student view. Let's see. Sections taught. Can I go to test practice here? Well, let me do that. Test practice. Okay. Ooh, 10%. All right. Nice. Well, this isn't fun. Have I done some of these? I was wondering. Yeah. Okay. So one that I've gotten a bunch of questions on was this digit of pi question here. Oh my gosh, don't show them the answer first, dingus. Okay, so the digit of pi one, this is kind of what the code HS window looks like. You're going to write your code, I believe, in this unit test window. And the way it works, let me just kind of show you if I do it wrong. Oh, is a digit of pi 0? I don't know. You can always click this button, check unit tests, and it will tell you what it expects. It's kind of like coding bat in that way. So you can check the unit tests. You can also do submit and continue. Well, it's all wrong. I'm not going to continue anyways because mine's all wrong here. And then if you forgot what you're doing, you can hit this assignment button and it reminds you what you're doing. It says write a method that returns a specific digit of pi. Write a method, sorry, there was somebody that tried to join the room that I didn't recognize. Write a method that returns a specific digit of pi based on the given parameter. For example, digit of pi 0 would return 3, digit of pi 1 would return 1. So I think that makes sense to me. If I just type out a few digits of pi, that's as many as I got memorized. 0 would be 3, 1 would be 1, 2 would be 4, 3 would be 1, so on and so forth. We get that. Okay. So what I would do is if I take, first of all, this is how we get pi, math.pi. That's, I can't remember how many digits they give you, but that's how we do pi in Java. If you're wondering why is there no parentheses, why is pi all capitalized? Pi is a constant. It's not a method, so it has no parentheses. It's capitalized because it's a constant. If I go ahead and take the value of pi, I can move the decimal point right so that the rightmost digit is the one that I want by multiplying by 10 over and over again, digit number of times. For example, if digit is 0, I don't want to move the decimal point. 3 is already the thing farthest to the right. Now, I could use a for loop to multiply over and over again, or we know repeated multiplication by 10 is just a power of 10. So what I was thinking is if I take pi and multiply it by 10 to the digit, that'll move the decimal point right, digit number of times. Now, after I've done that, I think I want to get rid of everything. So for example, if it's 1, then they'll take pi 3.14159, multiply it by 10 just once, which will be 31 point blah, 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 blah. Then I want to try to get rid of everything after the decimal point. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and cast this whole thing as an integer. Now, when I do that, it's just, for example, if the digit is 0, it's just going to be 3. It gets rid of everything to the right of the decimal point. If it's 2, it'll be 314, nothing after the decimal point. And then I think the last thing I want to do is if I mod by 10, that should give me the rightmost digit. I don't know this person that's trying to join. Somebody's writing on my screen. I didn't know that could be done. I don't know who this is. Okay. 1 second. Okay. And then I think I just want to return this value. Is that right? Hi. Somebody's writing. Do you guys see people writing on my screen too? Is that a thing? Interesting. I didn't even know people could do that. That's cool. I had no idea. So in CodeHS, sorry, let me get back to important stuff here. So at the end in a CodeHS problem, it'll tell you your program works, but you need to hit that submit button to actually make sure it's submitted and gives you credit for it. So Dana, I think you had that question about, do you have to submit them? If you click the submit button, submit and continue button up at the top, then they're submitted. So I think I can turn off annotating. Brandon, are you still here? Do you know how to turn off annotating? Can you tell me in the chat if you know? If anybody knows how to turn off oh, somebody's showing that they know how to annotate. That's helpful. Okay. We think we can. I think I can. I think I can. How do I annotate? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Yes, I would like to turn it off. Thank you. Okay, I did turn it off, but it was after somebody said turn this off. Let me just try this again here. Share the screen. Maybe it'll be gone now, please. Okay, we're good. Sorry, just figuring out how to do all this. Did anybody have questions on that last one? Can you put in the comments if you had questions, or in the chat, excuse me, if you had questions about that last one about pi? I can go back to it maybe. Okay, seems like we're good on that one, on digits of pi then. I think I had a request to do repeat last 3. Again, the CodeHS window, if you're not familiar with it, you can click assignment and it'll tell you what it is. It says write a method that takes the last 3 values of a string and adds those 3 values 2 more times on the end of the string. So jazz would be jazz as. Okay, so it'll be jazz, the original, plus the last 3 characters as. So what I might do first is, it looks like the name of the variable that I'm given here, the parameter is word. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe make a variable to represent the last 3 characters of word. Obviously, since word is a string, I'll use substring to go ahead and do that. If I want the last three characters, I have to start at the end and then go back 3. So I would do word.length with parentheses, because it's a string there, not an array, -3. And you know what? I can just use the single parameter substring method there. No, I can't stretch that way? Okay, what about this? If I use the single parameter substring method, it just goes from that all the way to the end. So this basically is saying, give me the last 3 characters. If that makes you really uncomfortable that I'm doing that, I could just do word.length. Now say go from 3 before the end all the way to the end. That is equivalent to this. They are the same. So questions so far? Okay. So then from there, I think I just want to return the word plus last 3 plus last 3. Now, you can do this check unit cases button. And if you do check unit cases, it'll show you like what it's testing and what it expects. And if you failed, it'll tell you you failed or something like that. If you're successful, it'll give you these green check marks, very similar to coding that. But what I need you to do is when you finish a problem, you need to click submit and continue. That's the only way it shows up in the grade book for me, is if you click the submit and continue button. I know these first couple Code HS ones started out kind of simply, but the next unit, you know, it gets a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, until then we're working on some complex stuff. But I thought it was a good place to review, especially if you haven't, you know, programmed in a couple weeks, something like that. So there's that one. Let's see. Let me go back to test practice here and see if there were any other. Oh, okay. Assignments. How do I look at this from the student view, please? Hit me with the student view, thank you. 71 students, that's a lot of you, that's good. I click student again. Oh my gosh, please, just give me this. Test practice, okay. Yeah, just click 7 million times and then you'll get where you're looking to go. Okay, were there any other ones of these? I've got all the ones that you had. I did get rid of 132 because it involved integer.parseInt, which is not going to be on the AP test. Thank you for those of you that informed me that that one was erroneously on there. I appreciate that. Any other one of these? Oh, you want to see my I'll show you my Mad Lib. Okay, wait, don't look at it. Hold on. I don't want you to see it. Dang it. Name, Mr. Foster. Adjective, mandatory. Wait, compulsory. No, let's do mandatory. Place, home. Let's do the park. Active verb, running. As soon as Mr. Foster gets out of this mandatory quarantine, Mr. Foster is going to the park to do some running. You're very welcome. So that's oh, he's pogging off. You can use integer.parseInt on the AP test. I can't imagine them having a question that involves it. I'll put it into chat if you want to know how it works. And essentially, if you put some string representing a number, for example, if you do integer.parseInt and you put in like 2, it will turn into the integer 2, essentially, like I just typed in there to chat. So that's that one. I know the first unit, these Code HS ones were a little easy. It gets better. Okay. One more, you know, that I put on this. Are there any other requests for Code HS? I wanted to just, I put optional coding bat and then the practice problems. I would say that the Code HS practice problems are actually really, really, really good. I wanted to show you guys how to get to those. Up at the top of the screen here, if you click practice, it's kind of similar to, it looks a lot like Coding Bat, but they're problems you haven't seen before. And so I thought there were some really like some good ones in here. And so there's, you know, if there's anything you need to work on, there's a bunch of them in here. Maybe we can, I don't know. How about this? Let's look at this. Let's see. Let me think, a string one? Here, you guys look at these categories. Is there, maybe I've got time, I've got 15 minutes. I can do maybe one more of these. I'm not going to do a 2D array one. I think you've probably seen on my post that 2D arrays, unfortunately, are not going to be on the AP test. Can't believe that they did that. An array list one. Don't have to worry about recursion anymore. Array list. Okay, let's do an array list one. Okay. Level 1. Let's do a level 1 first, and then maybe we'll do a level 2. That sounds good. How about this? Array list sum. So it's kind of similar to what you would see on Coding Bat or any of the other Code HS problems. It gives you a problem and an example and tells you to do it. So on this one, I clicked on array list sum. If you missed, it's up in the practice. You scroll down, you'll find it. I didn't require these, but these are great extra practice that I would highly recommend. It says, write a method that takes a single array list double as a parameter and returns the sum of all elements in the array list. So if it has 1.0, 2.5, 2.5, 1.0 plus 2.5 plus 2.5 is 6.0. If there are no elements in the list, return 0. Okay, so I think maybe the first thing you want to do, I don't think you have to do this first, but maybe you want to do something like, if there's no elements in the list, just return 0. I think we'll see that you don't actually have to do that in a minute, but maybe that'll make people feel better. Since the array list contains, capital D doubles, which we don't really care, it's capital D, but I'll make my sum here start at 0. Do I need to put 0.0? No, Java will take the 0 and turn it into a 0.0. Now, since I'm just looking at the elements and then adding them to something, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking enhanced for loop. And I could go ahead and do something like that. I could do for each double in list. No, for each double element in list. Then I can just say add it to the sum. Let's see, check my unit cases. How'd we do? So that looks like that works okay. That works just fine. Question, I wonder if I get rid of this uppercase double, if I change it to lowercase double, if it will automatically unbox them for me. Let's see. That works just fine as well. And if you're wondering, well, basically what the enhanced for loop does is it takes each double from list one after another sequentially and adds it to the sum. And then at the end, I want to just return the sum. So I can do it that way too. If you want to use a regular old for loop, maybe we should just remind ourselves how that all works. I'm not going to do dot length here. I'm going to do dot size, if you remember back from the array list unit. And then instead of element, I could do list dot get I, where I represents obviously the individual indices as well. So, and you know what? Let's see, do I actually need this? I don't think I need it. Because here it just won't go through the for loop if its size is already 0 anyway, right? Okay. Oh, admit. So that looks like that works as well. Okay, that's a relatively easy one. Let's go back to the practice here. Let's do, that seemed like a lot of people want to do array list. Let's do array list, one of these other ones from level 2. First one in chat to pick one of these from level 2, we're doing that one. Oh, element repeat, you got in there first, okay. Let's see this bad boy. Array list element repeat. Write a method that takes 2 parameters, an array list string list, and an int num repeats, representing the number of times to repeat each element in the array list. Return a new array list with each element repeated num repeats times. For example, if we had an array list with the values hello world, this looks like they want to repeat each element 3 times. So hello, 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 world, world, world. Great pick here on element repeat. I think I understand this one. If you're just joining us right now, we went through the free response problem in Replit, and then we did some of the Code HS stuff, and now I'm in the practice section on Code HS, and we're doing some array list ones. So this one again, it takes in this list and it says repeat it this number of times. So hello is in 3 times and world is in 3 times. I think I understand it. I am recording this, and what I'm going to find out is I've got to wait before I post anything because there's this law called FERPA, which protects people's privacy. So I've got to figure out if I can post it or where I can post it, and so on and so forth, to protect everybody's privacy and make sure I'm within the laws and everything. So that's a good question there, Derek. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I've got this list called list and num repeats, which is a integer that represents how many times I'm supposed to repeat. So I'm thinking I make one loop to look at each element. Look at the and then I have to add it. Actually, this isn't that bad. It's not that bad. So I think I want one loop. Here, I'm going to do one loop to look at each element. And then another loop that goes num repeats times to add that element over and over again. Maybe the best way to do this would be to make a new, that's probably the best way to do this, is just to make a new array list that's going to contain the result. If you've forgotten how to make an array list, I think this is how you do it. I'm a little rusty myself. By making an empty array list of strings, I'm going to return at the end. One loop I need to look at each element. I could do that with an enhanced for loop, but I don't want to do one enhanced for loop and another loop and just drive everybody bonkers there. So I'm just going to use a regular old for loop here. So I'll do for int I equals 0. Go while I is less than the size of list. Count by ones. Put the closing brace maybe down here. And then my other loop that goes num repeats number of times. Okay. For int j equals 0. Keep going while j is less than num repeats number of times, j plus plus. I'll take the element at index I, which is from the original list, and then I'm going to add that num repeats number of times to result, is my plan. So I will do result dot add list dot get I. Let's see. So for the example where they did hello world, it would do hello would be at index 0, and it would add hello j num repeats number of times 0, 1, 2, and then it would do the same thing for world. I would go up. Let's see what we're looking like here. Run the test cases. If it fails, it fails. Oh, it looks like I've got errors. I didn't return the array list. Everybody in chat is not telling me to return it. Okay, return result. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Give you guys another look at that one. So the steps I took, again, I made a a new empty array list that contains strings. I loop through to look at each element at index I, and then I make this other nested for loop to add it a certain number of times. Notice I only use the one parameter add method because I just want to keep adding it to the end. And list.getI is the ith element in the original. That's why I use nested for loops. One to get the ith element, the other loop adds it num repeats number of times. Any questions on that one? Will array lists be on the test? I can tell you arrays or array lists will be on the test. One way, like it could be both of them, but there will be an array or an array list question. I would point to there being an array list question that deals with objects. So I think this one's really pretty good. Let's see, Daniel had a question. If the method asked to change the array list itself instead of returning one, would the best way to add to the array list be to traverse it backwards? That is a good question. I guess if it were, first of all, if it were void, let's say if this method were void and you're just supposed to change the list, I would probably do it the exact same way, except at the very end, I might do something like that. That way I don't have to deal with the for loops and stuff like that. But how would I do it if it were the original? I couldn't do something like that. I had to traverse it backwards. Because then you do the additions, but then you got to figure out. Daniel, that's a good question. I think I need a little bit more time to think about that one. But thank you. That's a good question. What are you snacking on? Looks good. Tasty, tasty. Keeps the doctor away. That's good. I don't know, folks. We got just a few minutes left here. I don't think I'll do another one here. But just quick reminder, the Code HS was a little light this week. It was just the first unit. So that was a little bit light. Try to get through those Code HS problems. Make sure you submit and continue. Whoever asked, I think Dana asked that question, make sure you hit the submit and continue button. That's the only way it shows up in my grade book on Code HS. Get to that replit problem about sound. Again, I recommended that people write it out by hand and then they can plug in their answer on replit, but you could also just code right in there. And then if you're looking for extra practice, I do highly recommend these practice assignments from Code HS. I think they're really good questions. And you can pick something that you're struggling on. Which ones can you skip? Don't worry about 2D arrays. 2D arrays are not going to be on the AP test. But because they eliminated units 7 through 10. Sorry, I put it on here. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, I would recommend doing some of those practice problems, maybe a few more coding bat questions. The nice thing about practice problems on Code HS is that they have array list ones, which I know that JavaBat does not, or CodingBat does not. So I'd highly recommend looking at those. You don't really have to worry too much about recursion will not be on the AP test because they eliminated that one. These objects questions might be really good to look at too. And I'll be doing some more maybe next time we do a stream. We're still, as a school, finalizing our schedule, which times we're allowed to do meetings and stuff like that. So I will be coming out with another document on Sunday with what you're to do next week and stuff like that. And I'll again host a Zoom meeting. I'll have some times for people to get some one-on-one help. If you didn't see that, this doodle poll situation thing, it gives you a schedule where you can click on a time that you want to meet and just talk, and we can just share screens. It won't be through Zoom. It'll probably be through Google Hangout. You can schedule a time and we can do that. If you have a question on something next week, I don't know which days or times I'm going to do yet because like I said before, they're still figuring out their schedule and everything like that. But thank you everybody for joining me today. Thank you. I appreciate everybody that showed up, everybody that's working hard. If you weren't here, I know you got stuff going on. It's a tough time for everybody. I hope you guys and your families are happy and healthy and staying safe. And I miss you folks. I truly do. I would much rather be in the classroom doing this with you than this. And but obviously, everybody's safety and health comes first. And that's it for me for today. You can always email me a question if you have one as well. And I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Yo-Yo.